The easiest way for your child not to develop into what you want them to be is doing these 5 exercises. Hopefully today I'm going to show you them and you're not going to do them anymore, and you're going to understand why they're so bad to help your child thrive and grow into the kid he's meant to be. Alright, let's get straight into it. Here's the best of the worst. Number 5 is structured repetitive drills. This means like push-ups, pull-ups, crunches, planks, all of those traditional exercises that you probably know of. Those are actually not good for child development. Let me explain. 1, your kid needs something fun. They need a game as an exercise, not an actual exercise. So it's to make a bad association with child development, and they're not going to like it, and when they don't like it, it's going to lead to bad form, which is going to jump straight into the next reason it's bad. If they do have poor form, it could leave strains, bruises, and other problems with the bones and muscles because of their bad form. It could also lead to imbalances in the muscles, will all deeply affect their child development, and will also make sure that they'll never want to work out again. In fact, these drills are so unnecessary that you could literally just let your child roam free around with some of his toys, on his stomach, or whatever he likes to do. It's just better in general to just use that time that you would have been for exercising him to just treating him properly for how a kid's meant to be treated. Alright, that brings us straight into number 4, those movement games you see online. A lot of parents have these kids playing these movement games where it's pretty much just the kids on the screen watching a game where they're either playing tennis or any of those games online. They're technically moving and having activities, but let me show you exactly why it's bad. This is going to get them to be in that video game vibe and teach their body to be in a video game environment as they grow up, and it's easier than going outside and actually exploring, and they're not going to want to do it as much. So pretty much it's going to make them like to do child development work less and less. It's actually limited gross motor development. As much as you think these games are active games, they're not as active as you actually think. Even though you are moving in these games, the movement is so much less than he would have had if he was actually outside. It could also lead to eye strain and postural issues, which could develop into much worse things because your child's bones are undeveloped and he's young. Plus, it also just leads to reduced social interactions. It's just going to make him more socially off and awkward, which is not what you want, especially for a young child. Number 3 is excessive use of bouncy seats and container devices for infants. Let's break this one down. For this one, I'm talking about putting your kid in swings, bouncy seats, container devices, just not like the travel container devices where they're strapped in. This one is going to lead to limited movement and muscle development. They're not going to be moving around, they're going to be strapped in, and they're not going to build much muscle like this. Muscle is crucial in these early stages. It could lead to container baby syndrome. This just means they're going to be focusing on whatever's the most engaging thing in the room, and that could lead to plagiocephaly, which means flat head syndrome, or torticollis. Both really bad things, especially if they're developed when they're young. This will lead to delayed milestones since they're not moving around, feeling stuff, and just being interactive, and also sensory deprivation. A physical therapist perspective on this is that floor time is playtime. When you just leave them on the floor and have them playing, they develop so much faster and they do normal stuff that they're meant to do. Their body's trained to develop on their own properly, but just by letting it be and being the way they are, they're just going to develop on their own. Don't try to do these extra little hacks that you normally do. This is the simplest way to have them grow. Alright, now we're going to go to the second worst exercise that you could do for your child. Is putting them in the baby walkers. Most people aren't familiar with the name, but they're familiar with the actual thing. It's pretty much the thing that goes around your baby and constricts everything and only lets their legs hang out. This one's really shunned upon by PTs, and let me explain why. 1, a lot of these cases lead to serious death or injury. Since this kid is able to move around freely at high speeds, they're going to be running their stuff, tables, chairs, and even worse, falling down stairs. Thousands of kids every year are seen in hospitals because of these baby walkers and lead to so many unnecessary injuries and deaths. Another reason why it's so bad is because it delays walking. Since they're not actually getting that feeling of how actual walking is, it'll actually delay it rather than speed it up, even though they're technically walking. It's going to promote abnormal gait. Since the baby walker is going to take all the weight off their body and let them do weird movements that they normally would not have, it's going to make them do weird stuff like toe walking and other weird non-formal ways of walking. But not only does it constrict and not let the muscles grow like they should be, but it actually weakens the core and hips, which are really necessary muscles for walking later on. And not just walking, but all of child development. These devices are widely shunned upon by pediatric physical therapists, and for a good reason. Alright, now we're going to get into the most common, but at the same time the worst exercise that parents do all the time. And sometimes there's actually no avoiding it, but you should try to do it as least as you possibly can. The absolute worst one is prolonged, unsupervised, passive restraint. Let me explain what this is because the name is actually really long. This is when you leave your infant or toddler in a stroller, car seat, high chair, or other restricted devices for a long period of time. This is very similar to number 3, but it's completely different. These devices are more constrictive. Their muscles are going to be sitting there and rotting, and especially in early stages when they need those little muscles to work and move, this chair is going to lead to the opposite. And it's not only just about muscles, it's everything in that range. When kids spend a lot of time in these constrictive chairs, it's going to lead to huge delays in motor development, which can significantly increase the risk of their entire life changing for the wrong. It can lead to postural deformities, which are even worse when they are caused to infants. Sensory deprivations, they're not going to be feeling anything, they're just going to be sitting there. And it could also just be a safety risk. When you leave your child unsupervised, it can get really dangerous. It's even one of the main causes of plagiocephaly and torticollis. I hope you understand how bad that one really is. All of the consequences from that exercise are literally the worst you could get for child development, which is why I put it at the bottom of the list. Alright, I hope this video helped you guys, and I even hope more that you guys won't be using any of these exercises any longer, and for the ones that you have to do like car seats, obviously you have to use that, but try to do it as little as you possibly can. I'm telling you it's going to work. You're going to see significant boosts in your child's development if you did one of these things before and now you're stopping it. I hope you guys took a lot of help from this video. Also, like and subscribe.